Hey guys, I'm back with another video. This is going to be called 3 Home Alone Horror Stories Animated by IMR Scary Tales. This is a little bit of a lengthy video, it's about 20 minutes long. So, it should be fun. I know IMR Scary Tales videos are actually pretty entertaining to watch. Not that others aren't, of course they are too, but yeah. And of course 3 Home Alone stories, which is like the most common, probably the most scary, because like you're home alone probably a lot. Especially if you live alone. That's why I'm terrified to live alone. Like, I'm just terrified to. Like, it'll be great, so no interruptions during videos. Do whatever I want, play music if I want to, you know what I mean? But if it's an apartment, then it's like, kind of sus, because like, you live alone. Someone lives like right beside you, above you, beneath you. It's like, That would make me feel a bit uneasy. I don't like apartments. Like, they're just sus. So, and of course, you have to start at some point in an apartment, and then you move on to a house. If like with your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, maybe, or even your best friend, you know? But yeah, Home Alone stories. I'm just going to say right off the bat, be careful when you're home alone. I'll be careful in general at any point in your life, but just be cautious, you know? Like, I remember being home alone, I was super scared at times. Like, there's been a lot of like occurrences where someone tried to open the door, and of course it was locked. It was like 2 in the afternoon one time someone tried to open the door. I was home alone, I'm pretty sure, and then they left. And all I could think about was, what if that door was not open? Or what if that door was closed? Or what if that door was not locked and it was open? What would have happened? Someone a bitch in my house, and then I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. I could have died that day. That was like years ago. I could have been dead for like 5 years now. Insane to think how like a simple lock of the door can save your life at some point. So be sure to lock your doors. Like, home alone or not, always lock your doors. At nighttime, lock your doors, lock your windows. Unless they're up high, and usually someone can't climb up and freaking go through your window. But yeah, let's get into this video without further ado. Sorry for the huge delay or huge intro there.
I'm on mobile, so the format might be a little bit wonky. Just as a reference, I'm a transgender man and use he pronouns now, but to make this story easier, I'm going to refer to myself as a female. At the time, my name was Samantha. This happened to me when I was around 12, so if I'm 20 now, that would make this about 8 years ago.
Yikes.
Every summer, I would spend the time with my grandparents, who lived up in the mountains in a very small mountainside town. It was one of those remote little towns where just about everyone knew each other.
That guy's sus.
But it was as empty as it was close.
Sus.
We barely had any streetlights at the time.
Sus.
None by my house. You know, that sort of thing. My grandparents were also a tad bit irresponsible.
Great.
They would often leave me at the house all alone whenever they needed to run errands in the city a few hours away.
A few hours away?
I was a pretty responsible kid, though, and so nothing bad ever happened. Until one summer evening.
Pass me on.
One summer's evening, I took a glass of iced tea outside.
I noticed you guys comment about my catalog
and watch the sun set. I was minding my own business, sitting there all alone, when all of a sudden I heard a voice call out to me. Hey, you,
oh my
lady.
God, that's...
The voice was sort of thick and raspy.
That's not okay.
Like this person had been chain-smoking for 40 years straight.
Do you want to watch the whole story with me?
There's a man
Yell
at the end of the driveway.
Say sus.
To this day, his image is
burned
into my mind.
He's all bloody.
He was tall. He towered over me at about 6'5", if I had to wager.
You know, sus, he's all dirty. And he was
wearing a pair of overalls that were caked in grime and dirt, and what I would later learn to be animal blood. A white wife beater that was torn all to hell, muddy black boots, and somehow a completely pristine silver watch.
Sus altogether.
He was an older man, maybe about 50 or 60, and his eyes were a sharp blue. His face was so wrinkled up that it reminded me of a walrus. His hair was gray with light streaks of blonde. He had a huge long beard, and was mostly balding with long hair to his shoulders wherever he wasn't.
Sus.
He was also missing most of his teeth. If you're wondering how I got such a good look at him, I'll get to that in a moment. I didn't automatically assume the worst, even if this situation was very odd. I sort of replied with a non-committal, yeah? He got closer to me, to the point where we were now only about 10 feet apart.
Stay away from me.
Do you have directions to 1234 Forest Lane? He asked. That was my address. That's here. This house. Are you looking for my grandparents? They aren't home today. big mistake.
Yeah,
My naive
I'd say
self
so.
thought nothing bad of this entire situation.
I mean, you're 12, I get it, but
He
even at
nodded,
12,
and this grin formed on his face. It was
every
positively
time,
toothless
going Home Alone,
and genuinely sinister. It was then that it clicked that something wasn't quite right.
a punch in the dick.
Very good. The man looked all around.
Are you trying to act like a sus bitch?
None of my neighbors
That's clearly
were
what you
home.
are.
Most were out to dinner.
Of course they were.
Staying late at work.
Of course.
It was a Friday night after all.
Of course it
My
was.
stomach sank. The man looked back at me and seemed to scan me up and down. "You're a very pretty girl," he said simply.
Okay, that's enough.
"Too pretty to be underage, I reckon." That made
12.
me start to shake. I was frozen in my steps, and here is this man who took a few steps
Why are you coming closer to me?
He then asked me a question that chilled me to my core, and to this day, it still haunts me. "Are you afraid to die, Samantha?"
What kind of...
He knew my name. I had never seen this man before in my entire life.
You have to run, you have to call the
but
police
somehow
right now.
he knew my name. That's what scared me the most.
Call the cops right now,
I
yes.
very wisely decided to get the fuck out of Dodge, and I ran into the house, slamming the glass screen door
Call the
and
cops
locking
now.
it. A side note, our front door is a sliding glass door. It's weird, I know. He stood maybe about 3 feet away from the door, and after that we just stared at each other. In my head, I thought, I don't know if any of the other windows or doors are locked. He knew that I was thinking that, and so we stood in a standoff, just staring.
Get your phone.
I got a very good
Get a
look at
phone.
the man. Everything from the smallest toe to the very top
Like
of
you're
his
12,
head.
you should have some kind of
He
emergency
just
phone in
stood
case you have
there,
to...
barely moving, seeming to be in an endless game of red light, green light, and whoever moved first would lose everything. The sun was setting. It felt like an eternity, but in reality we were maybe only there for 10 minutes tops.
Staring at it for 10
Every
minutes?
30 seconds.
I lost my
It gets
patience.
just a little bit darker, and darker, and darker. The man was slowly becoming just a silhouette, and then he was starting to disappear. No streetlights, no neighbors, no witnesses. I began to tear up and shake. I was so scared. I don't think I've ever been more scared in my entire life. Was I going to die here? I was so young, and there was so much I still wanted to do. If he ran to get in, what would I do next? Would I go back outside and try to make a run for the gas station up the
Or you
street?
gotta stab
Would I
him.
try to hide and outlast him until my grandparents arrived?
No.
If so, where could I hide?
Call the
And then,
cops or shoot him or
by
stab him
some
or something.
grace of God, at that exact moment, my grandparents arrived home.
You're lucky.
The headlights shined on the man, or at least, that's where he should have been. Somehow, he was already long gone. I ran to my grandparents, sobbing and telling them the entire story. They called the police, but
Finally.
there wasn't much they could do.
No,
A few
you
years
should
later,
have called before.
I was at my grandparents' house once
Years later.
again. I woke up
Years
from a
later.
good night's sleep and wandered off into the kitchen,
So maybe you're like
serving
15,
myself
16
some
now?
breakfast that my grandma had made. I
No
sat
crap-
at the
no crap
table
still,
right next
4
to
years
my
later.
grandpa. Wordlessly, he handed me the paper that he was reading. Front page, above the fold, there was a mugshot of the man I had encountered that day.
What's it say?
He was a butcher in a remote town just a few hours away, convicted for killing and committing necrophilia on the bodies of his wife and 3 kids,
Oh my
and
god.
butchering them into pieces and throwing them out deep into the woods. He apparently was also under investigation for various murders, all of which involved dismemberment. I have no idea if anyone else saw this man or knows about the case off the top of their heads.
That's
But
terrifying,
if you
knowing
do,
of someone
it would
that was
be
doing
really
this to you.
interesting hear about.
I was charged or
Maybe
arrested for
read that
murder.
news article again.
Oh my god.
I wouldn't be surprised since this is so fucking sinister in nature. Apparently he only killed women, and if he truly did dismember all those people, I would fit his victim profile to a T. Young female, dark hair, dark eyes, and of Native or Hispanic origin. My grandfather took back the newspaper after I was done reading it, and in trying to conceal how shaken he was, he put a hand on my shoulder and said, "I'm so happy to have you here, kid."
Well, I don't want to come back here ever again.
To give some background information, this event occurred a little over a year ago, and I still haven't been able to even begin to get over it. I'm a 22-year-old, 5'4" female, and at the time I was 21. My family and I had recently moved to a new town that was a fair amount more rural than the town I had previously lived in. Our house was a large ranch-style house with a basement. I was home from college, and my parents had left for the week to celebrate their wedding anniversary with their friends, who lived several hours away. Before I continue, I'll give a quick layout of the house so that you'll be able to imagine the setting a bit more clearly. There were 3 doors which led into the house. One on the front porch, a sliding glass door on the back porch, which did have a lock and floor-length curtains for privacy.
Curtains, good, there you go.
And another door on the other side of the wall from which my bedroom led into the garage and basement. When you walk out of my bedroom and turn, you can see all the way across the house, through the kitchen, living room, and dining area, to the door of my parents' bedroom, and the stairs leading up from the basement. At this point, it had been a few days since my parents had left,
they actually have
and
curtains.
so far I hadn't had any problems. They had sent me a couple of messages on Facebook, letting me know that they had arrived to their friend's house safely, and were having a very good time. The day had gone pretty well, and I was sure to check that I had locked all the doors of the house once the sun started to go down.
Good, and make sure you get curtains for every window.
I was doing my nightly routine of staying in bed and messing around on the computer when I suddenly got this sinking feeling of dread. It felt as if I was being watched.
Never ignore that feeling.
And we didn't have AC, so I had a large box fan in the window, blowing the cool night air into my stiflingly hot room.
Yeah, because now your window's open and
settled over me, I decided that maybe I should remove the fan and close the window just to be safe.
And the curtain.
Once removing the fan,
Close
shutting
it.
and locking the window,
Close the
and
curtain.
pulling down the curtain,
There you go.
I felt a bit better. However, I still could not shake the feeling of dread. I laid back down in my bed and tried to continue what I was doing.
I wonder how you just have that instinct on, like how you just
After
don't know.
only a few minutes, I began to hear something that sounded like light scratching. I sat still in bed, listening to the sound and trying to pinpoint what it was and if I recognized the noise at all. Our new house, although relatively close in distance to our neighbors, had a fair amount of forest all around it.
Sus.
I thought the scratching may have been
That's never good.
or just someone's dog that got loose and wanted to come inside.
Don't just someone's dog.
After a few minutes, the scratching stopped, and everything returned to complete silence.
For now.
At this point, I figured that I was probably right, and that it must have been an animal.
Yeah, must
My relief
have.
was
Must
short-lived,
have.
though. As soon after the scratching stopped, from the other side of the wall, I began to hear footsteps slowly descending into my basement. This is when I knew I was completely fucked. There was no way I could get out of the house without walking past the basement stairs. We didn't have a house
Lock everything, close
and
everything.
at the time I was in the process of getting a new cell phone because mine was broken beyond repair. I sat there for a few seconds, just wondering what the hell I should do. I knew that I would need to get out of the house as soon as possible, and that the more time I wasted, the worse it would end up being for me. I contemplated popping the screen out of my bedroom window and jumping out.
No.
But it was far enough off the ground that there was a good chance I would end up getting hurt if I did so. Not to mention that if I jumped out the window and hurt myself, I wouldn't be able to run for help. I would be right next to the door that whoever was in my house had just gone in through. I decided very carefully and quietly to open my door and peek out around the corner. If the coast was clear,
I don't know if they were saying that he was inside or if it was just...
sprint to my neighbor's house for help. I very slowly opened my bedroom door, letting my eyes adjust to the darkness of the house before creeping around the corner and looking to see if it was safe to make a run for it. What I saw nearly made me vomit. As my eyes scanned the house, I noticed that something was off. I squinted as hard as I could and looked over at the basement stairs. I started to be able to make out the shape of a man. What made it worse? He wasn't just standing at the top of the stairs. He was crawling up them,
Seems like it's
like some kind of demonic creature.
It's getting closer.
I quickly backed into my room again, shutting and locking the door as quietly as I could. I didn't think he'd seen me, but there was no way I was
That
going to
didn't
make a
even
run
look
for
like a
it
man. It
now.
looked like a freaking
My
head.
only
That's
choice
it.
was to
Some
pop
kind
the
of
screen
creature.
and jump out the window. As I was unlocking and opening my window, I heard the handle to my bedroom door turn. Once the man realized it was locked, in a sickeningly sweet sing-song voice he cooed, "I know you're in there." This was followed by a loud cackle, and what I can only imagine was him throwing himself at full force against my door.
Yeah, you're fucked.
I ripped the screen out of the window
You have no
and
choice.
flung myself out. Unfortunately, I landed on the wrong side of my right foot, and I was sure I'd just badly hurt my ankle. At the time, I couldn't think of anything other than getting as far away as possible. I got up and hobbled as fast as I could to my neighbor's house, knocking on their door in a panicked frenzy and ringing the bell over and over. I looked over at my house as I was yelling for my neighbors to let me in. I swear to fucking God, I could see the man standing at my window,
Oh my God.
waving at me. My neighbors finally opened the door after what felt like forever, and I managed to explain well enough what was going on for them to let me in and call the police. I stayed with them until the police arrived. The police searched my house and found that the lock to the basement had been picked, and that the door to my bedroom was hanging off the hinges. They weren't able to find the man anywhere, and because I had only seen him for a split second in the dark, I couldn't provide them with a good description of him. Of course, I got into contact with my parents immediately, and they hurried right home.
Yeah.
The police took my statement and searched the area for the man, but of course they came up with nothing. After this event, my parents and I were sure to add deadbolt locks to the door leading into the basement, and to the door leading out of the basement to the rest of the house.
Dead strong locks
They
and
also
shit.
helped me pay to get a new phone. What really bothers
Yeah,
me
'cause
about
you
all
can
of
click
this,
off
though,
yourself, right?
is
Yeah,
that
exactly.
nothing was stolen. There wasn't even any evidence that the man had looked through anything.
He
All
probably
the
just
while
wanted
he'd
him to
been
kill you or just
inside
wanted you.
my house.
That just shows that what your intentions are.
I'm posting this story on a throwaway because I'm embarrassed about how I handled this whole situation, and I don't really want it connected to my real name.
Okay.
I'll start with some background. I'm a 20-year-old college student, and my brother is 17. This story happened over summer, so at the time I was home from college. Our parents were out of town because it was their 25th anniversary, and they decided to take a little vacation, leaving me and my bro home alone. That was fine by us, though. We spent most of the time drinking beer and playing Mario Party.
17, you're
During one
underage.
of our
You're
game
underage.
sessions, I showed my brother all of these texts I had been getting from a guy that I had gone to high school with. I didn't think much of them.
My cat's back,
They
guys.
were mostly just weak attempts at flirting. Occasionally, he would say something about one of my Facebook posts or about seeing me somewhere around town. But I thought overall it was pretty harmless. My little brother seemed really concerned, though. He pointed out that the guy was texting me at least 7 times a day. He told me if I ever needed him, all I had to do was text him the word help, and he'd come no matter what.
Oh, that's sweet.
I laughed at him.
Don't
I said
laugh.
he was being paranoid.
Okay.
Obviously, that sort of thing could never happen to me. I was
Okay.
very wrong. 2 days after we had that
Okay, why does that
conversation,
seem like a mansion?
my
Like
brother was
seems
over
more
at
like
his
a pool.
girlfriend's house, which was about 5 minutes away. So I was completely alone at home.
Do you not have curtains over
Being
there?
the dummy I am, I posted on Facebook, "Home alone tonight." About 45 seconds after posting it, I got a message from the guy saying that he could be over at my house in 5 minutes, and he really wanted to spend time with me.
Do I even know
I told
you?
him no, but thanked him for offering. He responded
even
by
know him?
saying it was already too late, because he was headed there already.
Well, then I'm gonna grab a knife and
I
stab
told him
you.
no again, but he just kept insisting that I spend time with him.
No.
He said he had something special planned for us
Yeah, I'm
tonight.
sure you do, you pervert.
Again, I wasn't interested. He responded, "Too late. I'm already here." I went to my front door and opened it, only to
Shit.
see him standing there to my surprise,
Why'd you open the door?
holding a bottle of very expensive red wine.
He
I
looks
noticed
insane.
that the bottle had been opened already,
And he
but
looks
the
insane.
entire container was still full. Now we get to the part that I'm a bit embarrassed about. Somehow, after a while of talking, I
Don't.
let him convince me to let him inside.
Idiot.
And once he was in, though, I I started to notice things off right away because he poured 2 glasses of wine. I didn't touch mine because I noticed that he wouldn't touch his at all.
He probably
He
drugged
kept
it.
insisting that I drink mine to the point of being angry that I wouldn't even try. It was
No,
about this time
it was already
that I
open, you drugged it or
realized
some
I'd made
shit.
a grave mistake. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, where I took the opportunity to text my brother.
Help.
When I left, I noticed the man had stood up, and his eyes were locked on to me.
Uh-oh.
He looked
He knows.
furious.
He knows.
He mumbled something. I wish you had just done this the easy way. He started moving towards
Shit,
me,
what?
and I froze. His eyes looked like those of an animal. I completely froze up. I wanted to
pissed.
fight and scream, but I just couldn't move my body at all. He grabbed me and forced me to the floor.
Oh my God.
But even still, I didn't fight. I shut my eyes
You didn't
and
fight.
waited for the inevitable. But just then, a
Really?
miracle occurred.
Your
I heard
brother?
the door burst open. My brother came flying in from the outside,
Get him.
calling out to me and asking if I was all right. My attacker stood up and tried to run, but my brother grabbed him and wrestled him to the ground. He pinned my attacker down and said the single most intimidating thing I've heard him say in his life. If you text her again, I'll hurt you. If you look at her again, I'll hurt you. And if you touch her,
I'll kill you.
I'll kill you. He dragged the guy out of our
That's
house.
awesome. I fucking
threw
love
him
that.
face first to the pavement.
Yes.
Thankfully,
Oh
I
my
never
God.
heard from the guy again.
That's
After
amazing,
talking
man.
to my bro later that night,
And
I
he's
learned that his
17?
girlfriend's parents weren't home that night, so he skipped out on definitely having sex just to come save me without a single question.
That's awesome. Yeah, I kind of missed the part where he said it was sex. Like, he was gonna have sex, but instead he saved his sister. I mean, I would hope he would save your sister over sex, like, Jesus. But that's awesome. I freaking love that. Like that brother's great. Like, I'd be like, even now I'm 17, or I'm 17, I'm 20, trying to 21, sorry. And in case you guys don't know how old I am, which I don't think most of you do, but I'm 20, turning 21 next month, so there's just a little update there. But that was insane, because like even now I can't imagine like threatening someone like that. I can't imagine wrestling someone like that. I can't imagine kicking them out of the house like that. I can't imagine that at all. Not even close to that. So he's 17 doing that. Love that. Love it. Like, it's like he's basically a cop by himself, or some kind of like security, like basically like security for his sister. I mean, I would have bitched at my sister for even letting him in. Wait, so I forgot if she knew the person. I swear to God, she said random person. I did that. Just said Facebook user. Didn't say, but that means you're blocked. If it says Facebook user, that means you're blocked. To me, at least. It'll say your actual name, but then if you're blocked, then it'll say Facebook user. Unless he named it Facebook user. I don't know. Just to seem sus. But why the hell would you let him in? Why the hell would you open the door? Like, look through the window, see who it is. And I'm assuming you even know who that is. So why would you even let the person in? If you know, and then he's sus, don't let him in. Say, okay, well, if you don't leave, I'm gonna call the cops. And if you're friends with him on Facebook, then you're stupid, because like you post that knowing that he's stalking you at the moment or messaging you 7 times a day, and then you still knowingly, if you're friends once again on Facebook, then don't do that. Why would you post it knowing that you have someone that's not, you know, knowing that he has you on Facebook, and knowing that he could see that, and you know what I mean? Like, you don't know. Just don't post your location. Don't have your Snap app on. Don't have anything on. I turn off everything. The only thing I have on is Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, sometimes location, but I feel really uncomfortable having that on, so just a little heads up there. That's going to be it for this video, though. Please be sure to subscribe if you are new. Be sure to comment down below your thoughts on this video as a whole, because it definitely was entertaining. It was definitely, that hero brother is the best. I love that. A hero brother to the rescue, and then there's me. I probably would just hide in a closet. Oh Lord, I need to go back to the gym, but I don't want to go until COVID's over, so I need to get muscle back. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video once again. See you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe if you are new as well. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, and that's it. Peace out.